Yeah, I know. I know. Performance is like a roller coaster ride. You just suit up and you go for a role, you know? Um, yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, no, how are you doing today? How are you doing today? I'm doing great. Yeah, yeah, no, I'm just having a cozy night in. Yeah, no, oh, with a pink in here. It's so pretty. It reminds me of a dark room. Um, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, can you see that? Victory Wolf, yeah. I don't, oh, that's right. That's right. Yesterday, the 28th, I believe, was the full moon. I believe. Yeah, no, I believe that's the case. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just, grooming myself, you know? Yeah, it's what I, right. On Mondays, I tend to like to do that. Because, yeah. No, I'm gonna go back to New York this weekend. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to New York this weekend. Yeah, because there's that. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. Fantastic. So, yeah, because Dance Space is doing that. This Devin Emery. Yeah, they're sort of like, I'm gonna have to encounter. There's a series of performances coming up, and I'm just gonna like, try to hit some of them up. Yeah. So I shaved and I had a chemical peel from the ordinary. And then I had a little bit of an accident, which I'll post the photos of or the video. Of course, I took a little, a mini podcast, a mini documentary, a mini recording, a mini monologue. Yeah, of it. It was really funny. It reminded me of like abstract expressionism or action painting. Yeah. That's what actually got me really interested, like, actually, in just opening up my practice to fully incorporate art, actually, because there's a lot of people, like, Eve Ewing, Sean Crawley, who are really Tiffany King, really pushing things and just really opening up. There's so much innovation happening in academia these days, theoretically, and it's just a really wonderful time to be in and out of academia, as I am. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, no, I was gonna apply for some more jobs this week, and then I was like, fuck it. I almost said F it, and I was like, no, let's just say fuck it. I mean, this is like open access, sort of, on YouTube. I mean, it's not quite open access, but you don't have to pay to watch my shenanigans, my facial shenanigans. No, I'm just very expressive because I'm gay. Yes, didn't you know gay people are very expressive? So are queer people, but queer people are both a little angrier and a little bit happier in my experience, which is why I mostly identify as queer these days. But who's asking me? Nobody. I'm just getting perceived however people want to perceive me because that's actually how perception works. Unless you get really finely tuned. I was speaking about that, I think, on my last broadcast. I'm a poet and I know it. I can just keep going on. I can just keep running my mouth. We're listening to Samba Touré, and I've been thinking about action. One of the interesting things about abstract expressionism, the pivotal mid-20th century art movement, sometimes also called action painting, was the monumental scale of the works, right? I saw a couple of small-scale works when I was at the National Museum for Women in the Arts in DC over the weekend, and not really a fan of that museum, I have to say. A lot of whiteness, as you might expect, but also I was not happy with the uncommunicated decision to not have the work of an Asian American female artist whose name is escaping me right now, and I don't want to guess because I respect artists and I respect people. I'm not going to guess at somebody's name. She had work on the 5th floor, and I tried to find out how to get to the 5th floor, and it was completely unclear in the museum. The National Museum, this is a government-run museum, a federal government-run museum of the Union of the States of America. I finally spoke to a security person who told me that the 5th floor wasn't open for viewing today. I said, oh, why is that? Because Sunday's normally a high traffic day to go to a museum. And they were like, oh, because we're understaffed and we have nobody to cover the room. And I thought, so the weirdo boardroom. Have you ever been to this museum? I hadn't. There's this weirdo boardroom in the space. It's a very, honestly, it reminds me of some of those old colonial museum spaces in Cuba or Mexico or Colombia, especialmente in Cuba. Sí. Just these cavern, just this or Versailles, something very, very, very ornate. And that space, although poorly space managed, of course, because that's a whole other skill set, right? But I mean, whatever, I don't know the history of that building. It turns out the National Museum of Women in the Arts is right down the street from St. John's Episcopal Church, which is where the previous inhabitant, the previous occupant of the White House used violent means to scatter all the people protesting in support of Black Lives Matter on June 1st last year. That's why I became spiritual again in a really, 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 really major. I'm Bart Simpson. No, I'm joking. But I was watching some South Park a little bit the other day. Not really paying attention to it, but just noting it. It was on in the background of the place where my friend and I were congregating. And it brought me back to The Simpsons in a way, although I've always been there because I was with the generation that grew up with The Simpsons. Like, The Simpsons are my generation, right? Matt Groening is like a Gen Xer. And, that's all you really need to know. But I was thinking about movement. Oh, the point, of course, that I would like to make is that the movements to so-called decolonize museums have a very long way to go because museums, by their very nature, are pretty resistant to change because they document and contain histories that are highly contestable, if not combustible. Yeah. So instead of having the Asian American female artists exhibition open, it was a solo artist having a solo exhibition. Instead of having their exhibition, but particularly at this time, given what happened in Atlanta almost several weeks ago now, it seems. My, how time flies. Yeah. So, it's like a lot that's going on, and I've been really thinking about my throat chakra, but I also keep thinking about my throat. I don't know if you've noticed that in a lot of... I just shaved today. This kind of feels nice. I didn't shave, I trimmed my stubble, but it kind of looks like I shaved. This sort of feels nice. It's comforting. Maybe I need it because of what I'm about to say. Because in a lot of videos, when I watch the playback before I put it out there into the world, and then I let it do what it's gonna do, I'm gesturing around here on my throat, you know what I mean? Because as some people know, I was choked last summer. By the person that I was in love with, and frankly, I'm still in love with. We both share a love of Frank Ocean, among many other interests, but it was an accidental choking, if you will, what they might say in South Africa in a kind of black humor or gallows humor, was a light choking. You know, I was also lightly mugged, or I experienced a light mugging in Johannesburg because of my phone. An earlier version of the same iPhone I'm now using to record myself telling these stories. About my life. My public life after my so-called life. Another Generation X program. I understand the last 40 to 50 years in this country very well. Now I'm pointing at you. Oh my gosh. Who the hell am I to raise my finger? Do you see what this country is doing to me? I'm serious. New York City is like extremely purple right now with viral activity. What's going on, people? Meanwhile, everybody I know seems to be getting vaccinated, and I'm like, I know people have medical issues and things like that, but I also know that like some of these people are like very high-end types, and I'm just like, I mean, I don't understand. Did you just jump the queue? And honestly, like, it makes it really difficult for me. This is not going to make me popular with anybody. So if you're listening to this and you jump the queue, like, that's fine. But, like, you know, whatever. Jumping the queue is part of the problem. It's called corruption, actually. People in the so-called global north like to think corruption is a problem of the so-called global south, but actually corruption started in the global north. Because what could be more corrupt than racial capitalism or settler colonialism? Or any kind of colonialism if you believe that there are multiple types of colonialisms rather than multiple practices of colonialism. And just as there are multiple practices of racial capitalism, race is inseparable from capitalism. You cannot have one without the other, which is why I like to say, following a very elite lineage of its own, the practices of Black studies forebears who coined the term racial capitalism. Because race is the coin of the realm under capitalism. Everything's about race. You know? The New York Times was broadcasting all afternoon, apparently, the murder of, trigger warning, George Floyd. Like, I was like, I just go to the New York Times page every now and again. Like, I'm starting to develop a habit of checking it, like, maybe once a day or, like, once a week, just so I know what's going on. I'm not subscribing to it, but I was like, there's an intuition about it now. And I was like, it's a Monday, let me check. And I had heard, of course, that the trial of George Floyd's killer was coming up. And I couldn't believe when I checked the New York Times today that it was not only, I could believe that it was happening already, but I couldn't believe that it was being broadcast live. And also the video of the police officers choking George to death was being broadcast. And I don't know what the connections were. I don't understand what was going on exactly. But I wanted to tweet about it, but I was like, no. Because what's a tweet gonna do? Right? Just express my outrage. I am outraged, but I'm outraged all the time, which is why I've essentially tuned out this mainstream media crap. Why? I mean, aside from the grotesquerie of portraying somebody's death, it's a fucking snuff film that the New York Times has. And maybe I will post that to Twitter later. Oh, and in fact, I did post something about this to Twitter. A little poem. One of my Zen psalms, if you will. The series I began last summer when I realized I had become enlightened. Because guess what? Enlightened means I don't want to watch somebody die if I haven't, first of all, consented to watch it, and secondly, when I don't even know who the person is. So where's their consent or their families or their kin's consent in this situation? Don't tell me, don't talk to me about the fucking public interest. There is no such thing. It's money. White people like myself, right? White people enjoy watching Black suffering. In fact, a lot of non-Black people like to watch Black people suffering. When Sadia Hartman called to divest from whiteness this summer, this is what she meant. Stop watching this shit. Stop watching this shit. You have no right. Pointing again, yes. Nobody has the right to watch this. Why is the New York Times doing this? Because they want eyeballs? They think this is woke? The people at the New York Times who had the awakening because of George's murder last year, this is what people want. This is what people want. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. It's just outrageous. Why is it anybody's business, first of all? There's no liberation that's going to be achieved from this. Nothing is going to change whether this police officer is convicted or not. I mean, you know? Why do you think people are going out and like killing people on the basis of race and gender? Because white people are deeply confused about these concepts. They are highly insecure. Whoever you are, white people, it's okay. I understand. I've been purging myself of this bullshit for years. For years. You know? And like, I may lose more friends because of this, but I keep gaining friends, you see. It's how life works. It's a balancing act. You know? I mean, you do yoga long enough. Hot yoga is even better. Not that Bikram shit, though. Try Moto Yoga in New York, but around the country and the world, in fact. You quit drinking, right? Which I did like 4 years ago. For the second time I quit drinking. You know? You go through hell, like the love of your life choking you, and nobody reaches out to you, right? Just a couple of people do. It's fine, I'm cool with that, you know? But I can tell that I have people's attention, right? Because I can just look at the bottom of my story and see who's watching it. You know? And I appreciate your attention, I do. If you're watching this on Instagram, that is. I see my views as well. And I am play acting a little bit here, right? But, you know, one of the things that I've learned in this practice, which is going on, you know, almost, I mean, ever since my partner, I sometimes, now I've broken the fourth wall and I've taken you behind the scenes of hysterical whiteness, is that I sometimes imagine that I am looking at my ex Arthur, or that I'm talking with him. Because a lot of my facial gestures and a lot of the ways that I see myself as an embodied person has a lot to do with changes that happened to me when I was with him, both positive. I mean, really, there was no negative that came from being with my ex, Arthur. It was all positive. And I'm happy to talk about the choking situation. And I probably will talk more about it because I'm starting to work on a piece of writing about it. That's not going to figure him in it, more about my experience of being lightly choked around the same time that George Floyd died in a chokehold. You know, 6 years, I think, after Eric Garner died in a chokehold on Staten Island for selling loose cigarettes. You know, if... Well, that was dramatic. I was just building up to make a really big point, to really land my delivery. And then I realized that the camera on my main phone, phone A, had stopped working because I ran out of space, because I've been taking a lot of video recently and I haven't posted any of it yet because I'm trying to consolidate the schedule of hysterical whiteness. Anyway, now you're getting footage from my B phone, and because my only rule for this project is that I do 33 minutes worth of material, I have 5 minutes, 4.5 to 5.5 minutes left to film. And last week, I'm indulging in all of my, again, behind the scenes thinking of this production. Last week, I actually also ran out of space and had to shift to my backup phone, and I was gonna splice them together and get a two-tone effect. Not, one after the other. Days never got around to doing it. But now I'm shooting these one day earlier. So we'll see if I can get around to editing the first and the last and still get it up tomorrow. That'll be a nice test of my current set of skills. Anyway. Yeah, I did my chemical peel today. Yeah, I know it's really working. Yeah, I really love it. Thank you so much for buying that for me last year. Yeah, I've been using the same. I've just been getting a little bit more, I've been doing it more regularly now. Yeah, I do, and I shave, because, when you shave, because I used to cover grooming back in the day when I was in the media with journalism. Yeah, I wrote for that. This is really gonna date me. I was with somebody this weekend, my friend Gio, who said, "Are you really 40?" After we hung out for some time, he was like, "Are you really?" I was like, 43. Is like, why? He's like, "You feel much younger." I was like, "I know. I really kind of feel like I'm 17. Not fully in my body, I have to say. Although it just takes a little bit more effort. You have to be very active. I'm always like moving around, and stretching as I go. I sort of incorporated the yoga into my everyday movement practice. But yeah, when you shave, men across the spectrum, right? If they have facial hair and they like to keep it short, or they like to shave it completely, it actually exfoliates your skin, because you're literally, anyway, I'm not gonna bore you with my grooming nitty gritty, but yeah, so I shave and then I do the thing. The ordinary, the red one. Yeah. There's a video of me wearing it on one of my other Instagram accounts, because I'm like testing to see, I was like testing it, but I have a couple of accounts where I like to test things to see maybe this will go viral, maybe this will go viral, but I haven't really been keeping them up so much because I'm just really doing the hysterical whiteness thing right now. Because this cannot continue. I don't understand, do people not understand that some people have a lot more money than other people, and that's just not... It's like what I was trying to say when I broke the fourth wall earlier. I was like, I don't know, maybe no shame, but maybe consider using the money you were planning to use for a beach house and invest it in I don't know, critical resistance. Because they know what they're doing. Black liberation, always, 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 as above, so below.